welcome to the explainer. You know, most driver reviews, they're all about that one perfect shot you pure on the range. But what about the other 99% of your swings? Today, we're going to break down an incredible test to find the single most forgiving driver of 2025.
All right, so let's get right into it. The real question for most of us, for the average golfer, isn't about which driver goes the absolute farthest when you hit it dead center. Come on. It's about damage control, right? It's what happens when you catch it on the toe or a little thin off the heel. Which one of these clubs is going to save you from that out-of-bounds stake? That's what this is all about.
So how in the world do you even test for forgiveness? Well, this was not your normal club review. First off, the swing speed was intentionally dialed back to about 75%, to simulate a more average player. Second, and this is the part that makes this whole test so unique, if a shot was flushed perfectly, it was thrown out, gone. Only purposeful mishits actually counted. And of course, to keep things totally fair, the exact same shaft was put in every single club, and all the data was tracked on a TrackMan.
Okay, now look at this field. We're talking 8 of the biggest names in golf, and they're all marketed as these max forgiveness models. You can see the top line averages here, and remember, this is for mishits only. Carry distance, it's kind of clustered around 250 yards, and total distance is mostly in the 280s. But the real difference maker, as we're about to find out, is hiding in that spin number, and more importantly, in the shots that aren't average. So with all that data pouring in, the field started to shrink pretty fast. See, the goal here isn't just raw distance, it's about predictability. A driver isn't forgiving if one mishit goes 280 down the pipe and the next one balloons up and only goes 250. Or even worse, ends up in the next fairway over. So the first ones to get the boot were the ones that were just too inconsistent. Let's take the Callaway Elite X, for example. Its mishits were spinning at an average of 2,900 RPM. I mean, that much spin just kills your rollout and robs you of total distance. It turns what should be a pretty decent shot into a short one. Then there was the Ping G440 Max. It had a totally different problem. Its dispersion was the worst of the entire group. Mishits were just all over the map. You just couldn't trust where the ball was going to end up.
Now, I gotta say, a lot of these drivers performed really, really well. The Cobra and the Wilson were incredibly solid, and the Kirkland signature from Costco, I mean, what a surprise. It was holding its own against clubs that cost 3 times as much. But after sifting through all the data, after looking at every single mishit, the test consistently pointed to 2 clear frontrunners that were just on another level when it came to consistency.
So here we are, the final showdown. The Titleist GT1 versus the TaylorMade Qi35 Max. And just look at the numbers on paper. They are ridiculously close. The Titleist carried a little further, sure, but the TaylorMade had lower spin, which led to almost identical total distances. The key finding, the tiny detail that changes everything, was buried in the dispersion pattern. The TaylorMade was unbelievably consistent, except for one big miss. And that right there, that brings us to the very definition of what we're looking for. What is true forgiveness? It is not about your averages. It's about your absolute worst swing of the day. True forgiveness is a driver's ability to take that swing, you know the one, it feels awful right off the face, and somehow still keep the ball in play. It's all about eliminating that one disastrous, round-killing tee shot.
And that's where the decision was finally made. This quote from the tester, it just says everything. The final pick came down to the one driver that completely, totally eliminated the outlier, that one shot that just goes way, way offline.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The TaylorMade was fantastic, but it still produced one big miss that could have cost you a penalty stroke. The Titleist GT1 threw every single kind of mishit they threw at it, toe, heel, high on the face, low on the face. It just didn't. Every single shot finished in this tight, predictable window.
And for that reason, and that reason alone, the crown for the most forgiving driver of 2025 goes to the Titleist GT1. It wasn't always the longest on every shot, but it was, without a doubt, the most reliable. On the worst swings, it gave the best, most consistent results. End of story, right?
Well, not quite, because after crowning the winner, the tester did something really interesting. He took just one single swing at full speed with the winning Titleist driver, just to see what would happen. And the result? Well, it changes everything. Take a look at this. On those slower 75% swings, the GT1 was already spinning at a pretty high 3,100 RPM. But when he stepped on it and swung at full speed, that number just skyrocketed past 4,000 RPM. That is a massive, distance-killing amount of spin. For a high-speed player, that ball would just balloon up into the air and fall out of the sky. And this
This is the ultimate takeaway. The Titleist GT1 is, without a doubt, the most forgiving driver for a moderate swing speed player. No question. But for a player with a faster swing, that exact same design is actually a pretty poor fit. It's the perfect example of how forgiveness isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. And it's a powerful reminder that no matter what the tests say, the only way to find the truly best driver is to go find the one that works for you.